All right, that's perfect. That's good. That's good. Yeah, we're good for now. All right, thank you, and welcome to our inaugural workshop here at Kindred Farm. Thank you very so much for joining me, and I'm Janine. So, how often do we really hear the saying, never trust anybody that your dog doesn't like? Have you heard that saying before? I think most of us have, right? Or have we ever heard that saying, a wild animal can smell or sense your fear? Or we've even heard references that horses and dogs are incredible at really detecting if somebody is ill or if they have a mental development issue. And how do they know these things? How are they able to sense these things? You know, they still are doing research that they don't even know how a dog knows or a cat knows that the owner is going to come home about 15 minutes before they arrive. So, do animals have an extra sense that we don't as human beings? Do they know something that we don't know? How can they tell all these things? Well, the truth is that they use the exact same senses that we use. They use touch, they use sound, they use smell, and they use all of these senses. Now, there are a couple exceptions. You know, dolphins and bats use things like eco tracking and all those types of things. But for the most part, these animals use the exact same senses that we do. But the problem is that we as human beings really rely on our talk or our verbal communication more than anything. But the truth is that 97% of all communication is actually done through body language and energy. Now, I think we all kind of have a sense of that, but sometimes we just may not put it into words. So animals are well aware of our body language and our energy that we put out. And that's really the world that they communicate in. They don't really use as much verbal communication as we do as humans. So what I'm going to do is to invite you now is to really just think for a few moments in a little bit of a different perspective, and then we'll get right into what we're going to learn today. So if you'd like, you can close your eyes or just for a moment, just relax yourself and begin to imagine, if you will, you were sitting in your bedroom on your bed and you were just waking up from a nap and you were still kind of out of it, and all of a sudden somebody that you've only met once or twice comes barging into your bedroom. They didn't even knock on the door, and they came into your bedroom, and they were really loud, and their movements were super agitated and really, really quick. They came barging into your bedroom. They didn't even acknowledge you. They were loud, talking to someone out in the hallway. They didn't look at you. And then they came over to where you were, and they started rearranging everything and pulling onto your covers and changing everything around you. How would that make you feel if that happened to you? What kind of feeling would you get deep in your heart if that actually happened to you? If that encounter happened to you? What about if that same person had just gotten into a really big fight with someone and they walked into the room and they were angry, and could you feel that? Would you have that sense that that's the energy that walked into the room? I think we probably would notice that. I mean, how often do we talk to a friend on the phone and say, "How are you?" And they said, "I'm fine." And you go, no, you're not. I could tell there's something wrong. So we actually have this sense a lot. Okay, so let's look at another perspective. Imagine again that you're in your bedroom and you're lying on your bed, but this time you're ill. You're not feeling very well. Maybe you're physically hurt or there's something going on with you, and you're relying on someone from the outer world to take care of you and to protect you and to feed you and to take care of you. Now, imagine that person walked into the room now and they were really leery, like they were afraid of you. They came into the room and they were kind of skulking into the room, and their shoulders were up and, hi, how are you? And they were barely talking to you, and they just were throwing things at you, and they thought, okay, here's a glass of water, have your glass of water, you go over there, you stay in your corner. Would you have confidence in this person to take care of you? Would you feel that this person was trustworthy, that they were reliable, that they were grounded, and that you could be vulnerable in front of this person, that this person that came into your space was there to take care of you, and you could relax and let it happen. Now, for most of us, we think to ourselves, okay, we wouldn't really like it, but why is that any different than our interaction with our animals? Animals have a sense of ownership. And so what that really means is that their space is like your bedroom in your house. So it may be a pen and it looks a little bit different with hay and all that stuff around and blankets, but there is no difference. So when we approach the animals and we come in and we do one of those sort of two actions, what happens is that we are really saying far more that with our body and with our energy and even with our emotions that we are perhaps aware of. So you might have goodness in your heart and you really want to do good by the animals, but say you come into that space and you just want to get your job done and over with, you have an appointment later on, and you just go rushing and barging in and just kind of want to muck that stall as fast as you can and get it done and over with. And in your heart, you're really coming from the right place. And I really want to commend all of you for being volunteers, and we all come from the right place. But sometimes what we don't understand and realize is that where we are in our physical body, in our mental body, in our emotional body has a profound effect on not only us physically, but those around us. And animals especially are very, very, very sensitive to that. So when we start to talk about what is energy, it's really very, very simple. Energy, basically, in the terms of things, is really what we need to grow and develop and change. And that our physical body really is giving off energy. So things like quantum science and quantum physics is really starting to acknowledge that now, that all we are is frequency. That's it. We kind of often think that we're this dense matter, but we're really not. There is so much going on in our bodies, all those systems, all those electrolytes firing off, all that blood flowing in our body, that we actually give off an electromagnetic field that can actually be registered up to a few feet away from the body. And that when we come from a really passionate, loving place, that those around us can really feel it. So imagine, if you will, the last time and you got an incredible hug from someone that you really loved, and they didn't have to say anything to you. All they did was wrap their arms around you and come from such a loving, compassionate place, and you could feel that you could just let go and that your heart would really, really melt. And that's such an important piece, is to know that even when our thoughts and our body language and our energy and all those components are brought together, that it's not just actions that really are speaking to the animals, but the rest of that is speaking to the animals as well, then we give the animals the opportunity to really relax and to be able to have the strength to carry on. So if you think back at a moment ago when we talked about someone coming into your room, if you imagine that circumstance happened to you, that someone loud and all that came into your room, and then right after that you were expected to be a therapy animal, would you really be in the right state of mind? Or would you feel agitated because someone was just shouting and being really quick around you and not acknowledging you? So it's kind of a hard turnaround. So really our jobs as volunteers is to be really aware of our interactions with not only ourselves, but those around us. And this doesn't matter if it's animals or if it's the people around us, that really our body language and our energy, our thoughts and our emotions matter when we're interacting. Okay, so the first thing that we really want to talk about today is really how we stand in our own 2 feet, and that how that really speaks volumes. So what we're really going to be talking about today is two sort of big factors that play into these messaging to the outer world. And one is that distinct body language and how we stand in our bodies. And the other really is the way that we breathe really can speak volumes about where we're at as well. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to get everybody to stand up with me wherever you are, and you're going to stand up on your 2 feet. And I don't want you to look down at your feet or anything like that. I know that's pretty habitual. We always kind of want to look down and look at our feet, but I'm going to ask you not to do that and just to show up in your body exactly how it is. And then just close your eyes for a few moments once you get there. So one of the really great ways to kind of become present, and again, this is where animals are, they're present, is to really just focus on the senses and the here and now. So as you stand there, I invite you for a moment to just close your eyes and get a sense of where you are. Maybe you're in your living room or in your bedroom, but just get a sense of the space around you. And then see if you can get a sense of, is there any sounds around me? For me, I can hear the birds and all that wonderful stuff. And even can I feel the earth or the floor beneath my feet? And what sense do I have of that? And even can I feel the clothing or jewelry upon my body? What can I notice in this moment? What can I feel in this moment? And then from here, I'm going to invite you to turn down to look down at your feet. Now, please don't change anything about your feet, but just notice the position of your feet. Are they pointing directly ahead, or are your feet turned out slightly to the side? Do you have more pressure on one foot than the other foot? Do you tend to stand over into one hip? Do you lock your knees or really squeeze your bum, or maybe you tend to hold really tight in your belly or shoulders lifted? So all I just want you to invite you now is to now turn your senses a little more inward and notice when I'm standing here, how grounded do I feel? How steady and stable do I feel in my body? And we'll take just a moment and a little bit of silence just to notice that about ourselves. Am I standing strong and connected to what's beneath me? So, why this matters is because the information that comes from the outer world in through the feet and in through the senses is twice as much information of what goes from the brain into the body. So what that really means is that our outer body, our senses, and when we're standing, especially our feet, are really speaking volumes and telling us information about where we are in our space and where we are in our world. But it's also speaking volumes and telling other people around us of where we are emotionally and mentally. Okay? So what we want to do is to first learn how to stand at about a hip distance apart. So we're going to change the camera view here a little bit and have a little look at my feet for a moment, and then we'll come right into that practice. So we're going to come down and sort of take the angle of the camera down here a little bit. And you can now see my feet. And so I'm here still. And so what you want to think of is your feet looking directly ahead like you're on a railway track. So you want to be about 2 fists apart, and that really is about that hip distance apart. And you want your feet again to be looking directly ahead. Now, from that position, what we're going to do is you just want to stand again for a moment. And if you're not used to standing like this, it might feel a little bit strange. So a lot of people tend to stand with their feet turned out or turned in, or you might even roll into the inner feet or outer feet. So again, just stand for one moment, and then we're going to work with 1 foot and 1 foot only. You're going to lift up the heel of that foot, and you're going to just start to roll across what is called the metatarsal arch. This is where all the toes begin. And we're just going to roll across that. So feet are a highly intelligent part of the body. We don't often think of that because they're stuffed inside of our shoes, but the feet are constantly in communication right all the way up. And you can take the camera and go back up again. Perfect, and go right on up. Okay, so now what we want to do is you're going to put that foot back down and you're going to lift up on the same foot all 5 of those toes. And you're just going to now give them that nice little wiggle, wiggle, jiggle, just like that. And then you're going to try a little pianoing. And you're going to start from the baby toe and come all the way down and see if you can get that big toe to come all the way back down as well. Good. Okay, then we're going to change directions, and this way is never quite as easy, but you're going to see if you can place each toe down individually on the way back, and spreading your fingers helps. So if those toes aren't cooperating, if your mind says do it with my fingers, then go for it. Now we're going to rise back up onto that ball of the foot, and this time we're going to focus on this large toe mound. So I'm going to grab a little piece of paper here and really showing you where we're after. And this is known as the foot triangle. So I'm going to come in a little bit closer so you can see that. Hopefully you can see that on camera. Okay. So where we're going to be talking about is the large toe mound, the baby toe mound, and then the heel point. This is known as our foot triangle. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll to that large toe mound and give it a little shimmy. It's not that it's trying to change anything, but we're just bringing the awareness of that foot into that busy brain of ours. And then you're going to roll to the baby toe mound and do the same thing. Give it a little shimmy. So now what we want to do is to go back and forth a few times. So you're going to hook your large toe mound, baby toe mound away, and you're just creating a wide foot. So there's over 7,000 nerve endings in the bottom of the feet. And as I said before, all these nerves are really talking to us and letting us know how we're standing on our own 2 feet. Good. And then what you want to do is you want to just now hook that heel and reach your toes away, finding some length, and then hook your toes and reach your heel back. And do that a couple times, like you were trying to make your foot really, really long. And now put that foot down and start to roll around the foot triangles. Rolling them around, rolling them around. And then as much as you can on that one foot, place those triangles into the ground. So the large toe mound, baby toe mound, and heel point all the way into the earth. And then stand up tall again. Let your eyes close and just notice, did that actually do anything? Can I feel anything from that little exercise? For some of you, you might really feel a big difference, but if you don't, that's okay. Awareness is awareness. So even if you say to yourself, you know what, I don't feel anything at all, that's still an awareness and it's still an answer. All we want you to do is just notice. And it may be as simple as my 2 feet feel a little bit different. So we'll take just another moment for that, just to notice, taking a breath. Okay, so we want to work with that other foot. So again, you're going to lift up all 5 of the toes now on that other foot and give them a little bit of a wiggle jiggle. Okay, and let's try placing each toe down one at a time. And then the other direction. And again, this one's not quite as easy. Use your fingers if you need to. And then you're going to rise up onto that ball of the foot. Again, this is known as the metatarsal arch, and this is where all those toes begin, toe mounds begin. And then the next time you're at that large toe mound, give it a little shimmy. And then that baby toe mound, give it a little shimmy. And then come down and start to create some space in between those toes. So you hook your large toe mound, reach your baby toe mound away, back and forth, back and forth. And then we find a little bit of distance or length on our foot by hooking that heel, reaching your toes away, hooking the toes and reaching the heel back, going back and forth a few times. And then find that triangle on that foot, rolling through that triangle. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to point the 6 points of those feet firm into the earth as much as you can, and then you're going to stand up really tall. And here's the questions to ask you as you stand here. Do you feel strong? Do you feel steady? And do you feel grounded? And as you're standing here, do you think your body gives the message of a confident, strong person who is standing really tall and reliable? And do you get that sense? So what we want to do now is to play with what happens when there is a little misalignment through those feet. So what we're going to do now is we're going to roll to the large toe mound. So you're going to allow your feet to roll in and let this be quite exaggerated for a few moments. And this is often something that we see on a lot of people. It's called pronation. The feet are rolling in. And just for a moment, notice the consequences. And you might notice right away my 2 knees buckled into the center. And I'm going to ask you to hold this for a moment and just ask yourself those same questions. Do I feel strong? Do I feel steady? Do I feel grounded when I'm standing in this position? Or do I feel something else? Do I feel like I'm falling over or I'm weak? And if you were to look at yourself in the mirror, do you think that you sort of are conveying a message of reliability and trustworthy in your body? Okay, so let's go to the baby toe mound now. Just leave it there, we're good. And take it right on out to that baby toe mound and then just stand there for a moment and see what that feels like. And you might notice, wow, it takes a lot of effort for me to stand here. I'm really working super hard in my body. I feel a little bit tense. Now, the question might come in here, who cares? Why does standing in my own 2 feet really, really matter? Because when we are standing in our own 2 feet, this way that we've shown you into the foot triangles, the message that we're conveying to the outer world is that I am grounded, I am strong, I am trustworthy, and I am reliable, and I'm here to help you. So for a moment, go to one of those places again, to the outer feet or the inner feet, and notice really what happens to you and really what the rest of the body does. So I'm going to go to my inner edges of my feet, and the longer I hold this, the more my body kind of wants to roll inward, and now all of a sudden it feels like my whole body is collapsed inward. And you imagine, if you will, if this person was going to show up and they were going to try to help you, and they're here to maybe help you administer some medication, or they were here to really help you when you're in pain, would you feel that this person was grounded and trustworthy? Or would you get a sense of, no, 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 don't come near me. I'm not sure if you know what you're doing, okay? Or let's do an opposite here. If someone walked into the room and they were standing like this, and their knees were locked back and their shoulders were pinned back, and they were looking down their nose and their whole body was rigid, and they walked into the room and they said, I'm here to help you. Would you feel good about that? Would you think to yourself, really? Why would you be helping me? you don't seem like you have any compassion in you at all. You don't seem like that you have a really, maybe a gentle touch. And maybe if you approached me, I might not like that very much. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to ask someone from the outside here to come on over and be a little bit of an assistant for me. So we're going to ask David to come on over here. And of course, we're having social distance. And he's going to come on over. And this is my husband. So I'm going to ask him to come on camera for me for a moment. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand in those foot triangles. And I'm going to, again, with my feet looking at that 2 fists apart, and my feet with those triangles into the earth as much as we can. Now, what David is going to do, he's going to come put his hand on my shoulder, okay? And he's going to very gently just give me a push. And what I'm going to try to do is to resist that and to even push him back. And you'll notice that there's not much effort. And I'm pretty strong. I could actually ask him to push a little harder, and I'm still able to talk to you and maintain myself. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is to go into those little sort of miscalculations that people often do in their feet. And what I'm going to do with 1 foot and 1 foot only is just to roll to that large toe mound, okay? So here I am, and I'm now rolled to that large toe mound. And what I'm going to do is to get David to push me again. So go for it. Oh, oh. That didn't take very much. And if he was to do it again one more time, go ahead. And if I was going to even push him back, I've got so much effort to do that I'm working way too hard to do that. So what happens is that when we are not standing in our own 2 feet, we're really a pushover. We really don't have the strength and sort of groundedness and fortitude to stand in our sacred space. Now, if you're going to go and interact with someone, especially as a caregiver, you want to have that message of, I am reliable, I am strong, and I am grounded. Okay? So I'm going to get David to come back one more time. And now we're just very, very quickly going to roll to the baby toe mound, and we'll watch the same thing. We'll just see if it's any different. So I'm going to ask him to give me a push one more time. And I'm on my baby toe mounds now. And you can see that. Okay. So that's all in well. So now that we have our foot triangles, what we're going to do is just sort of notice that what happens if I try too hard even before David gets there. So what I'm going to do is I'm still going to have my foot triangles, but now I'm going to squeeze my bum a little bit. I'm going to hold my belly a little bit, and I'm going to lift my shoulders. And maybe this is a way some of us approach the goat, right? We approach the goat like, right, in this kind of way. And so right now, I'm really going to tense up my entire body. And I kind of feel like a bit of a weightlifter right now, like I'm really, really strong. And I'm going to go ahead and get David to go ahead and push me again. And we'll see, do I have the strength to resist him? And you can see, even though I tensed my entire body, I was better off not doing anything at all. And that tension in my body actually made me weak. Isn't that interesting? So we're going to do one final thing with my trusty partner here, is I'm standing in my foot triangles. And I'm standing tall, and I let go of some of that tension. And he's going to give me that little push again, so you can see. And I'm really strong and stable. Now, I'm going to do one more thing here, that this is the next segment that we're going to really talk about, is really I'm going to hold my breath. Okay. So now, as I'm standing tall, I'm going to hold my breath, and we're going to ask David to give me another push, and we'll see what happens. So here we go. And wow, it's pretty amazing. Thank you, David. That what happens is that when we are not standing in our own 2 feet, and when we are holding our breath, we become weak. We become sort of ungrounded, if you will. And the animals are well aware of that. It doesn't matter the words coming out of your mouth. Oh, hi, I'm here to help you. I love you. You're so cute. the animal doesn't know what you're saying to it. They don't care what you're saying. What they see is, oh goodness, who the heck is that approaching me? Do I want that person to help me? Do I want that person in my space? Or maybe they walked in and they're, I'm here to help you. And they've had a really bad day and they're loud. And you're like, no, no, no. You know what? I'm not into that either, right? You can just go ahead over there. And maybe that sometimes that's when they really react to us. I mean, same thing if someone walked into your bedroom unannounced, you'd probably put up a bit of a protest. You'd probably be yelling back and saying, what are you doing in here? Can't you see me? And that's the same thing for the animals. When they are approached without being acknowledged, when they are approached when we are not in our own body, when we are not aware of ourselves and our body language, they pick up on it immediately. And most animals aren't going to necessarily react. Most of them are just going to go back off and retreat. But there's other animals that are going to be like, oh, really? You look like a bit of a pushover there, right? You look like I could maybe come towards you. Maybe I can even take advantage of you, right? And so we don't really want that. Now, so we've already learned about how to stand on our feet and how do we approach an animal. So it's pretty simple. All you need to do is when you arrive at the farm is just take a few moments for yourself to just become aware of the moment, to become aware of the surroundings around you, become aware of the air, the sounds of the birds, and really the feeling inside of your body when you get here. And then take a few moments to just ground down. And the simplest way to do that is just to open up your feet. Just take a moment, even in your shoes, just wiggling your toes a little bit, rolling around on your outer edges of your feet, and then becoming aware of your foot triangles. And as soon as you do that, there's an instantaneous thing that happens is we become grounded. We become really strong in our bodies. Now, there's always such a thing called the mind body connection. And what that means is by doing this with our physical body, we actually become grounded and stable in our minds as well. And that's exactly what we want, to really be grounded and stable so that we're showing up for these amazing animals so that they can relax in our presence and then have the ability to go ahead and work with the vulnerable children. All right, so that was one. The other thing that really makes a difference is something that we seen that David and I did off camera, is that by breathing and the way that we breathe speaks volumes. So think about this for a moment. How does someone who's really upset breathe? Okay, so you can hear, so somebody's really upset, you tend to be holding their breath, and if they're mad, and you kind of think about a little kid, right? You can always tell when they're having a tantrum, the first thing that they do is they actually make a huffy puffy sound. And as a matter of fact, animals do it too. I think I heard my cat huff and puff a couple times, and I can always tell that he's mad when he's breathing. And we can even see that with the horses and the cows, that really our breath is actually speaking volumes as well. So breath in our sort of yoga world or the Chinese medicine is actually considered to be our life force energy. In Chinese medicine, it's called our qi or our ki, and in the yoga tradition, it's called our prana, our life force energy. And then in Western society, it's really just our energy inside of the body. So breath is really how we connect to the outer world, because it is bringing the outer world inward. And breath has a profound effect, not only on our outer expression of the world, but even into our own health and wellness. So again, if you can imagine, even if your body was relaxed and you went in to talk to Barney, the goat, and you were breathing like this and you were trying your hardest to walk sideways, or even if you approach the horse and you're a little bit leery because they're a pretty big animal and you were breathing like this, what you're really saying to that animal is, I'm terrified. I don't want to be in this room with you. I don't feel comfortable what I'm doing. Or even if you held your breath, they're well aware of that. They can sense that's what you are approaching them from. So the way that we breathe plays such a profound effect. What we want from our breath is to really help us to really come from a super relaxed place. When we are relaxed, when we are calm, when we are focused, what happens is that we begin to come from our heart space. And that's exactly where animals live. So we talked a little bit earlier about quantum and quantum physics, and this can come back into the application here of our breath, so that really animals work and live in this quantum field, and that they are really noticing small nuances of even how you breathe, and that makes a big difference. So what we're going to invite you to do now is just stop for a moment and notice your breath. Okay, so if you'd like, you can close your eyes for a moment or two, and you just want to be aware of your breath. Don't try to change it, don't judge it, just notice it. Now, what I would like you to pay attention to over the next few breaths is, how long does the average inhale take you? So if I was breathing as an example, when I inhale, it takes me about 1, 2, 3 to inhale before I let that breath go. So I would invite you to do that, is just to kind of notice over those next few breaths how long that inhale takes you. So we'll do that together. Okay, now how long does the average exhale take you? So now you want to notice the same thing. When you exhale, how long does that take? Okay, so here's what we know scientifically. If your exhale was shorter than your inhale, for example, maybe you inhaled for 4 and you only exhaled from 3, what that means is you are stressed out. Your body is in a state of fight or flight. And what that means is that your entire system is sort of on edge, and that your body is really sending off the hormones of stress. Now, for you, you may not notice it, but the people around you can notice it, and definitely animals can notice it. Now, if your breath was the same, inhale 4, exhale 4, well, that's a regular breath. That's a breath that helps us to move around into the world. And that's the breath that we need when we're out mucking the stall and we're working in the garden. That's the breath that we want, that nice inhale, exhale. Now, the breath that we're after, and the breath that helps to calm us down, and the breath that lowers our blood pressure, the breath that lowers our heart rate, the breath that calms the entire nervous system, is when the exhale is longer than the inhale. Now, if you're already doing that breath, congratulations, that's wonderful. But for a lot of people, we just don't breathe that way because we don't know what we don't know. So what we're going to do now is we're going to play a little bit with these breaths, and we're going to try a little bit of these short exhales, 1-to-1 ratio breath, and then a little bit of a longer breath, and just notice the differences. Okay, so it doesn't matter now if you're standing or sitting, it's up to you. And what we want to do now is we're going to do it about 4 or 5 times together. We're going to inhale for 3 and exhale for 2. And then we kind of want to notice at the end, what does that make us feel like in our body? Are we ready? Okay, here we go. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 1, 2. Again, inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 1, 2. One more time. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 1, 2. How'd that feel? Probably not very good. You might feel a little agitated, right? You might feel a little bit of shortness of breath. Maybe it's just a very odd feeling. But we know scientifically that when people are in sort of a very deep emotional state, like if they're really sad or they're feeling shame or guilt or anger, we know that that breath regulation tends to really change. So if you think about it again, if I was really scared, you can hear it. I'm gasping for breath, and it's a very little out breath. We need that to happen when we're in a place of fear. Because, quite frankly, if a big bear walked onto the film here with me, I don't want to be, oh, casual, hi, bear, how are you, with an extended exhale. No, I want to be, and be running away as fast as I possibly can. So we need this kind of breath. We need to be able to have this kind of heightened breath because it helps us to express that fight or flight. But we don't want to be that way when we're walking to go see the bunnies. Okay? We don't want to be that way when we're walking in to see the geese. We don't want to be that way. We don't want to be heightened. And we especially don't want to be heightened when we're walking in to see Barney the goat, because I guarantee you, he knows that you're in that state of mind. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that. Inhale, let's say 3 or 4, it's up to you, and exhale 3 or 4. So let's give that a try. Ready? Inhale, 1, 2, 3, and exhale. 1, 2, 3. A couple more times. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 1, 2, 3. We'll do it one more time. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. And exhale, 1, 2, 3. What did that make you feel like? Hmm. For some of you, this may feel way better. Other people might think, actually, I feel much more relaxed. And this particular breath is the breath that we want when we're moving out into the world. It's okay to be a little bit leery when you're walking in with some of these larger animals. I know the first time I met a horse, I was pretty overwhelmed. They have the capability to come into your space a little bit, and we want to be leery, but we don't want to be afraid. We don't want to send that message of, I'm terrified of you. How would that make you feel if someone came in front of you and you were just doing your own thing and they were afraid of you? It wouldn't feel very good. So when we are approaching and when we're working, we want to really have this one-to-one ratio breath. And it doesn't take very long to really notice this about ourselves. Okay, now there's one more breath, and this is really the key breath to really calm us down, to again calm our nervous system and all the systems of the body. So what we're going to do now is we're going to inhale for 3 again, but this time we're going to exhale for 4 or 5. Okay, so let's do that together. You ready? Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And just notice now, what did that make you feel like? Did you feel calmer, a little bit more relaxed? You might even be yawning. And for some people, they might even feel a little bit lightheaded. That's kind of normal, especially if you're not used to breathing this way. So what that really means is that our breath and the way that we're breathing, going back to that, can actually really convey to the outer world how we're feeling. So we really want to pay attention to that when we approach the animals, that not only are we sort of watching our posture and our body language, that we're also really paying attention to how we're breathing. Now, we could really go deep into a lot more details, and really talk about that even our thoughts and our emotions give off a frequency. And they've actually been doing some deep studies now with human beings that even the thought of trauma very, very quickly changes the physical body, that even the thought of a situation of anger, or situation of sadness, or a situation when you felt guilty or shame, whether you know it or not, is actually being registered to all those around you, animals and humans alike. So this is when we kind of put the homework back to you guys. So one of the big projects that we would ask of you as the volunteers, is to really, what can you think of now that you have some knowledge here? And again, this is only part of the puzzle, but really, what do you think would be the most effective way to really have some sort of signage to be sort of posted on the outsides of the pens? So what could you come up with some ideas that could be there collectively as a visualization for everybody that comes onto the phone? So say if somebody brand new came to the farm and they went in to go and feed the chickens, that there would be some sort of signage there on the outer pen to really be a reminder to become present, to become grounded, and that you are there for the right reasons, that you are there for them, that you acknowledge them, that you respect them, that when you come into their space, and again, it is their space, that you are coming in from a loving, kind place, but you're also steady and grounded and reliable and trustworthy. And so that's the homework that we put out to you as our wonderful volunteers, is to start collaborating. And over this next week or so, or even 2 weeks, we're going to get you to go ahead and email Chris and give her your fantastic ideas. And then when we come back together onto the farm, that we can maybe create posters, or if any of you at home want to even create posters for us as that mindfulness before we enter into their sacred space, we would really appreciate it. So just in reiteration again of what we really are after here, is we stand in our own 2 feet. We stand with our feet at that hip distance apart, and we stand as much as we can in those foot triangles: large toe mound, baby toe mound, that heel point. And when we stand like this, we become an unmovable force. We become strong, but we are not rigid, but we are not over trying. We are just are. It's sort of like, as I would think, it would be, this is my sacred space, and I'm standing in my sacred ground, and I am meant to be here. So it gives us that sense of I amness. And wow, if that's who is approaching me when I'm not feeling very well, I'm going to feel really good about that. Okay. And then the second that we talked about today is really the way that we breathe really makes a very, very big difference. That when we are breathing, we're really speaking volumes about where we are in that emotional state. That when our exhale is shorter than our inhale, that we are in a state of that fight or flight, and that we are agitated even if the mind says, yeah, I'm okay, this is fun. The message you are conveying is that I'm afraid. Or maybe I'm not in a good mood today. That's the messages that you're giving off, and they know it. So we're going to put this back to you as our wonderful volunteers to help us to help you on how to approach the animals the very best they can so that they can go out and be the therapy animals that they were meant to be and help the children that are vulnerable and that need their love so much. So in conclusion, I want to say thank you very much for joining me today. And now we're going to stop the recording and we're going to allow you to ask some questions and we're going to put you back on to speaker. So thank you very much.